Coming soon to own on
YouTube and Twitch. Flash Season 3. Why didn't Barry save HR? Now, if you remember, Season 3 was the season with Savitar, and Savitar was trying to kill Iris. But then HR, Harrison Wells from Earth, I don't remember what Earth, but he actually swapped places with Iris, and Savitar killed HR. So I think today we're gonna be going why Barry didn't like try to save HR. He just let him die. I also feel like Barry really didn't care about this version of HR though. Oh, this is embarrassing. Comic books versus the world.
You know, it's always a fun time rewatching some of your favorite shows, right? Like there's always something to appreciate all over again. New details you maybe never noticed before, and sometimes there's even new questions you might start to wonder about. Kind of like I did on my latest rewatch of the CW Flash show, when I started asking myself, why the hell didn't anybody on Team Flash think to save one of their good friends, the then latest Wells replacement HR, as he slowly and painfully died in the middle of the street?
That is right. They just let him sit there and bleed out. I mean, Barry has super speed. They could have rushed it back to the Star Labs.
That, detective, is the right question.
So just in case you don't remember, all through Season 3, the writers had been building up to this big future plot point that Savitar, Barry's future Time Remnant, would eventually murder Iris in front of present Barry, something that does eventually happen in the last minute or two of the 22nd episode in Fantino Street.
Hope I didn't spoil the movie for anybody.
But as we saw in the first few minutes of the season finale finish line, it turns out the future murder that we all saw was, in fact, your typical Shyamalan-level bamboozle. As it turns out, HR had actually disguised himself as Iris and sacrificed himself so Iris could be saved and everybody else could be happy in the end. Except for Tracy, but nobody gives a fuck about her anyway. Problem is, once you actually stop and think about it for a second, you suddenly realize there's this one tiny detail that kind of ruins the whole twist. HR didn't actually have to die. Before we get into all that though, be sure to leave a like on this video and leave me a comment and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get back into doing YouTube.
I think Barry just really didn't give a fuck. He was like, we'll get another HR. Yeah, I think that's what he was thinking.
More often, so this would
I think he was more happy Iris was alive.
Anyways, back to the HR murder. It sure does look like there's a lot of in-universe reasons why they didn't want to get him all patched up. I mean, HR looks like a convicted murderer for one thing, and bringing him to any hospital probably wouldn't have ended that well for him in any way, shape, or form. Then again, just moving him at all could have been a bad idea, since it could have aggravated his wounds and either hurt him more or just straight up killed him. Plus, there was probably no way for any doctor to actually save him, even if they did manage to get him to a hospital in time. And just think about what that would do to the timeline. Like, what if saving him now means Savitar actually manages to kill Iris later that night or something? Like, who knows what could happen? Okay, yeah, a lot of those are pretty selfish and out of character for these guys, but at least we can all still agree that HR had to die that night, right?
No.
Well, no, not really. And to prove it, let's go ahead and debunk all of them, starting with number 1. Dude looks like a murderer. Now true,
yeah, he does look like the
no
original
murderer in Central City thanks to that confession Eobard Thawne made back in the day, and if discovered, HR runs the risk of getting sent to jail or getting attacked or something like other Wells before him. Two things though. First off, we already know nobody would be able to connect the dots and figure out who HR actually is. Even ignoring the fact that most people would probably jump to literally any other conclusion rather than believe HR is Harrison Wells back from the dead. I even did a video on why that would be the case a while ago, you should check it out.
As seen in episode 17!
You also have to remember that Season 3 introduced probably one of the biggest cop-out devices on the show, that being the facial transmogrification device HR brought with him from Earth 19.
Yep.
And we know HR still has the thing on him by the time he gets stabbed, since he uses it to reveal his real face to everybody before he dies. Not that he really needs it anyways, since we saw him set his face to Randolph Morgan mode back in the 6th episode Shade.
Let me just... What did you do? Did you just neuralize us?
No, I gave you a simple retinal adjustment so all of you can see me, HR, while the rest of the world sees Randolph Morgan.
Either way, the point still stands that Team Flash could have easily left him disguised as Randolph Morgan, or changed it to whoever they wanted really, assuming the Iris disguise wiped out the Randolph one for some reason, then raced him over to the hospital and dropped him off. Easy peasy. But even if they didn't want to go through all that disguise nonsense, because, pushing a button is just like so much work, they could have just skipped the disguise altogether and just have Barry vouch for HR instead. I mean, the Flash is a widely respected superhero in Central City by this point. I imagine any doctor would be quick to believe him if he came in with a victim and a cover story. And besides, it's not like we've never seen the Flash's word clearing up a mistaken identity issue in the show, since he literally does the exact same thing in the season 6 episode A Girl Named Sue.
Flash?
Yeah.
It's him. He's the one who robbed us.
Excuse me?
That's a case of mistaken identity, sir. I'm sure Captain West can explain.
That was easy.
So basically, Barry could have run HR to the nearest hospital, said something along the lines like, "Hey, this dude's hurt and he's cool, could you maybe fix him up, please?" And then HR's all patched up and good to go. Which then brings us to issue number 2. It's too dangerous to move him. Now true, generally speaking, you're never supposed to move a severely injured person out of risk that you're going to make their injuries worse, and instead wait for first responders to show up and handle the situation themselves. However, considering what all HR went through in the finale, he didn't exactly have time to wait for Team Flash to pull their collective thumbs from their asses and call 911, something they clearly weren't doing anyway from the looks of it, and it is considered okay to move a victim if they're in immediate danger, which HR clearly was. I mean, these guys have no idea whether or not Savitar is coming back to finish the job once he realizes he's been bamboozled.
Well, why did he give up? Oh, no, he left. I was about to say, why did he give up? But he left.
And HR is definitely going to bleed out if he isn't moved, since no doctor or ambulance could get there in time, so it would make way more sense for Barry to get him to the nearest hospital as soon as possible rather than just leave him on the ground for a few minutes. But comics, some of you guys might be saying. How is it a good idea when Barry moves so fast? Wouldn't he accidentally hurt somebody if he moves them at super speed, like tear up their organs or something? Well, no, not really. See, speedsters in the comics have what they call an aura, a protective field that they generate as they run, keeping them and, anything they might be handling, safe from all the pesky real-world effects of traveling at super speed, like friction burning off their clothes, for example. And as confirmed by Cisco and Caitlin in the season 4 episode Think Fast, we know that CW Barry is able to do the exact same thing when he runs, even managing to share his aura with other people before he's even aware that that's what he's doing.
When you run, you don't just tap into the Speed Force. You generate Speed Force around you.
Like you're creating lightning to protect you from the friction, like an aura.
Seriously, go back and look at literally any scene where he's saving somebody, or carrying something, or just kind of going about his business. Somehow that person or thing managed to make it to its intended destination without burning up, right? Well, mostly anyway, but to be fair, he wasn't really an experienced speedster back in the early days, and the aura wasn't
just
really
getting
generated
started
properly yet in the first season, so there's that. So yeah, HR really wouldn't have to deal with all the unfun, realistic parts of super speed if Barry decided to move him, especially since he wouldn't be moved for that long anyway, from his perspective at least. Anyways, moving on to number 3, the surgery issue. Now, I get it, that's a pretty bad injury right there. Probably gonna need a lot of band-aids to get this one fixed. But I mean, getting stabbed by a big-ass blade right through the heart, there can't possibly be any kind of treatment for something like that, right? Right?
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
Come on, seriously? There's like tons of treatments for tons of different heart problems, including, believe it or not, getting stabbed straight through the heart. For a major stabbing like the one Savitar did, I think it's pretty safe to assume that HR would need something like open heart surgery, maybe even a full-on heart transplant since he got stuck pretty good. Assuming he gets to a hospital in time, which given the company he's with is pretty likely, the doctors could have hooked up HR with what's called a cardiopulmonary bypass machine.
Damn,
Basically,
what the fuck
it's a
is
machine
that?
acts like a heart while your real one is stopped so the doctors can work on it for any number of reasons, like clogged arteries, repairing valves, or, like I said earlier, transplanting an entire healthy heart. Now, obviously, with the heart he's got, HR wouldn't last very long, but with a brand new one, he's got a decent enough chance of pulling through and
But
moving
where do you
on
get a
well
new
enough
heart
afterwards.
from?
In fact, recent data showed that heart transplant patients have an average life expectancy of around 9 years after their surgeries, which, I don't know about you, sounds a hell of a lot better than the official 0 he had with Team Flash doing nothing, right? And that's just in the real world too. I mean, just imagine what his chances would be like in a universe with metahumans and geniuses who can whip out tech that's borderline magic or whatever. And finally, number 4, issues with the timeline. Oh, how I missed you, sweet, sweet timeline confusion, the bread and butter of this channel. It has been way, way too long. Seriously though, this one's probably the simplest one to explain away, since all you gotta do is just look at the season 3 finale, finish line. Notice anything in particular here? Savitar just hanging around, Iris just standing right over there. Why doesn't he just kill her now? Or now? Or literally any chance he gets after he finds out she's alive.
He has to
Yeah,
find
the
out the
future might be
timeline.
slightly different. Maybe Iris doesn't die in the exact same spot she originally did, But if Iris dying is the one thing keeping Savitar's existence intact at the moment, you would think he'd try a couple more times to take her out, right? And yeah, I know he has a backup plan, that being the quantum splicer thing, but still, you would think that killing Iris would at least give Savitar a little bit of a head start on his plan while Team Flash is crying about Iris's death. Honestly, at this point, my best guess is that Team Flash collectively couldn't muster up the energy to just give one single fuck about HR before or after he died.
I told you, bro. I don't think Barry actually just cared about this HR. It was like, yeah, appreciate that big bro. Like, you saved my wife. Yeah, rest in peace. And then they just moved on.
Died. I mean, there's literally no reason why he couldn't have still been around with the rest of Team Flash till after the Crisis crossover later on down the line, and honestly, it's a little bit disappointing we couldn't see more of him in the show. But anyways, guys, that's my guess on why Team Flash couldn't, or just wouldn't, save HR in Season 3 of The Flash. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own thoughts you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below.
Well, you heard the man. That was the Season 3 on why the Flash didn't save HR. Now, me personally, I do feel like it was more or less a lack of interest and probably timeline concerns. I think Barry was like more worried about Iris than he was HR. But I also feel like Barry himself really didn't talk to this version of HR that much. But let me know how y'all feel about that down below. With that being said, I'll see y'all boys later, dude.